obviously the implementation of this, the way they've done this, is purely assistance to the agent, but
Yeah.
that's not a bad thing. I mean, I think that was, if you look at Salesforce, Oracle, all the players that have done something similar in their support apps, it was, how do I make the agent more effective? Well, I could do that by giving them the capability to find answers faster, find better answers, understand the customer, understand sentiment, which is extremely important in an interaction with a customer.
Growing a business requires a holistic approach that extends beyond sales and marketing. This approach needs alignment among people, processes, and technologies. So if you're a business owner, operations, or finance leader looking to learn growth strategies from your peers and competitors, you're tuned into the right podcast. Welcome to the WBS Podcast, where scalable growth using business systems is our #1 priority. Now, here is your host, Sam Gupta.
Hello, hey everyone, good morning, and this is another day for Analysts Gone Grumpy, or Analysts Gone Wild, however you want to put it. And I'll start my grumpiness with StreamYard, I guess. Always fun to deal with StreamYard. By the way, if you have not dealt with Zoom, Zoom is probably worse, I guess, in terms of hosting. StreamYard always has some fun, but we'll keep talking about the StreamYard Zoom. But before we do that, I guess, we need to cover stories and also start with the intros. Shall we go with Michael first?
Sure. Michael Fawcett. I'm the founder, CEO of Arian Research. We've been doing this for about 4.5 years. G2 chief research officer, and I was at IDC for 10 years or so. We mostly focus on CX and AI and agentic AI particularly, and the intersection of those, but look across all the enterprise apps.
Amazing. And Michael, do you want to talk about your book? It's already released, I believe, right?
It is, yeah. It came out September 15th. It's Building the Digital Workforce Strategies for Agentic AI Success. So if you're interested, it's on Amazon and most other booksellers. So.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Michael. John, do you want to go next?
Sure. John Santaferraro. I'm the founder and CEO of Ferraro Consulting and the host of the Digital Analyst podcast. The last episode just hit 76,000 views. So it's fun being here. Wow. My coverage includes agentic AI at the core. Thanks for the kudos on the podcast, by the way. That was a big deal for me.
Yeah, and John, I don't know, maybe you can send some viewers here. I guess we could use some, on this podcast. Thank you so much.
Yeah, share. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if I think the view is not as good, I guess, for my camera. I don't know if it changed. So StreamYard does things. I don't know if you guys are feeling the same or not. But I think it changed for me, I believe.
You look as good as you have always looked, Sam. You're good.
Okay, I'm good. Thank you so much for confirming that, because I was worried. Maybe I'm not looking as good today. Ken, do you want to go next?
Sure thing. So I'm Ken Gunn. So Ken Gonzalez, Ken Gunn, former Gartner analyst and now lead advisor at Pretty Simple Group. I cover AI, infrastructure and operations, and various and sundry CIO topics. I'm the one here that has the face for radio, so that's probably not good to have me on video, but there you are.
Maybe that's why I'm getting a little shadow here. I'm not looking as good, I guess, Ken. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, so Robert is not here, so I'm hosting today. So we'll dig right into the stories if you guys are ready for that, unless you guys have any other stories or jokes that you would like to share. If not, let's dig into the first one. And John, I think you have been waiting for this one for a long time. Hey, this is Salesforce. We all want to talk about Salesforce. All right, so I'll give a little brief from my perspective, and then you guys can start. So here, this is very interesting personally for me, because obviously Salesforce has been talking about making Slack a project management platform. If I remember their positioning, I don't know how successful they have been in that. So there is a little community aspect, and Michael is always, already sort of disagreeing with me, I guess. It's like, what the hell is he talking about right now? Okay,
I
but
would never disagree. I might just augment you a little.
yeah. So, so here, my take on the story is that, I mean, they were talking about creating the list and sort of the project management. I don't know how successful that has been. Obviously, there is a little bit of AI flavor to it. And obviously, I mean, they are going to create a lot of different apps from the Slack perspective. Slack is going to access a little bit of unstructured data there, and there are going to be some apps. So I don't know if these two things are going to be aligned, but that would be my take. So I'll open up the floor. Michael?
Yeah,
I'll
sure.
Go ahead, Michael.
All right. Well, I was going to say that the big thing I think here, and this is actually, I think significant for several reasons, that they've been talking about Slack as a operating system for the enterprise for a while, and I think over time I've started to buy into this idea that a lot of people would, in a business, a lot of people using systems might actually spend more time in Slack than anywhere else. I mean, that's a natural place for you to work, do work together. And if you think about adding digital workers or agents, I mean, again, you need a place to collaborate. So I think from that perspective, interesting. They've added more and more capabilities, MCP server, APIs, all those things, right? So they can connect to tools and other data sources. And then actually, lastly, it's a really important data source, right? I mean, you've got tons of corporate knowledge that ends up in your Slack instance because people talking about projects and challenges and all those things. So it seems like a next logical step for me, and I think companies will see benefit from from being able to work a lot in Slack. Our teams or the other players are coming along as well, but I think it's an important announcement from that perspective.
Yeah, I'll jump in with two things. One, context is king. And number two, tribal knowledge has been the untapped piece of corporate IP that nobody's been able to tap into, and this taps into that. So I think that is extremely powerful, and I think that especially now, and I've got to say this, that yesterday they just closed the acquisition of Informatica, so now you've got this rich set of metadata coming into the core of Salesforce. You've got the tribal knowledge, and you've got contextually aware agentic entities, whatever these agents are, right? That can now understand everything from tribal knowledge to structured data to unstructured data. I think this opens up big doors for Salesforce to move forward. And I had this realization about 2 weeks ago that because I've been talking for a while about business intelligence, something like Tableau becoming a cockpit instead of being just a dashboard. And this enables that. I mean, now you basically have the data layer that is solidified with all of the data engineering and metadata. You've got the analytics layer and the AI layer. And then on top of that, you have the applications. So now you can be in a BI tool and get a report, or even be in your application, get the intelligence that you need from tribal knowledge and data, and actually be able to make changes in the way that you're operating your business based on that, literally all in a single screen. So I think the potential here is fantastic. It's amazing.
Yeah. Ken, do you have any comments by any chance on the story? Otherwise, I had some follow-up comments.
Yeah, I do. So first off, I think the whole idea of Slack kind of getting Slack out of its lane as a team and individual communication, facilitation, collaboration tool is not necessarily a bad thing. I don't think trying to throw additional stuff into it in the context of project management is actually a productive direction to go in. We already have enough project management tools in the world. We don't need more. What we need is a way to have a better system of engagement, a way for people to actively, and if that's what we're talking about, great. But the more it starts to smell like project management, the more I think it's going to start to actually kind of rot in place, because you're pushing too many capabilities in a channel that was not necessarily designed to be able to do that.
Yeah, so some very interesting comments, and I'm going to have some follow-up aligned with that. And Ken, I think you are right. I don't know how I would feel about seeing Slack become project management tool. But at the same time, if you look at the newer breed of project management tool, they have, I would say, a lot of collaboration embedded as part of their workflow. So the whole breed is sort of changing in my mind. And Michael, to your comment, I was at a QAD conference, and I don't know how they are going to feel about it. We don't have to talk about QAD here because obviously they are slightly different. But when they think of Red Zone, their pitch is that, you know what, manufacturing workers, they don't want to use Slack because they don't have context. And I believe somebody mentioned context word, so they don't have their specific context, and a specific context matters even if the tool is going to be as cool as Slack. So they are trying to position Red Zone as more of the Slack for manufacturing workers, which I kind of like, because they are going to get their data and workflows the way they like to see. But I don't know how they are going to feel using Slack on the shop floor. That could be very interesting, I guess. So those are my follow-up comments. I don't know if you guys are going to have anything more. If not, we can move to the next story. No follow-ups? Okay.
Well, let me double down on the project management thing.
Yeah.
With all of the displacements that we're seeing in tech workforces, I mean, is project management really a thing anymore? Or are we actually assuming, like bundling into existing roles, the things that a traditional project manager would actually need to do? So in this case, I'm thinking that it's probably more along the lines of what my analyst peers here would be thinking about in terms of how we use agentic technologies, or to be able to do better role division so that we're actually fulfilling what the intention is, as opposed to necessarily having a traditional project manager and then stacking more tools into the queue. I think that making things simpler, more direct, is probably the direction that it needs to go. And I would hope that with the new technologies that we've got available to us, that's actually the direction that we end up moving.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing I would add is that think about this as a connector, right? It connects people to people, people to agents, agents to people, but also applications, right? So it connects to all these other applications. So your QAD example, I mean, what if you integrate QAD into the Slack environment where people are already working? Maybe that is a logical operating system. Now, what does that look like on the shop floor? No idea, but I do think it's adding in the applications in a collaboration way. And then, John, to your point, context matters no matter what, right? That was always my argument when we talked about big data. It was big and it was data, but it didn't mean anything until you had relevance and context, right? Yeah. Same here.
Yeah, could not agree more. I think great points. So let's move to the next story. So here, unless you guys had anything else on that story. Okay, perfect. So here we have Sprinklr. And I don't know if you have heard of Sprinklr. I don't think we have covered them before. But it sounds like they are doing some AI powered, which is not unique, I guess. Everybody's doing something AI powered. And these guys are really into social and marketing and I don't know, and then customer experiences at enterprise scale. They have a little no code pitch here, that's being thrown. What else? I don't think we have anything else. Obviously, they are building the Copilot. I mean, you have to have Copilot in marketing material in 2025. If you don't have that, you are already behind. What else? So that's pretty much it. I don't know if you guys have any sort of insight on this one. No?
Yeah, I think
yeah, go ahead.
I think I'm fascinated by the concept of how AI, given the right amount of data that it needs, and given a small language model that is focused on a specific company's customers, how can AI engage in a way that basically eliminates some of the need for human interaction, so that the AI, if it understands the customer, if it understands the customer scenario, the customer transaction, even the customer culture, the customer, maybe even the personality of that particular company, it can begin to ask questions, good questions that unlock things in that customer relationship. I'll give you an example. When I use a large language model, I really want a deep thought from AI, I ask it to interview me and ask me 3 questions one at a time that will give it better information to be able to give me a better response. So because these AIs and these LLMs and small language models know language, they're really good at asking questions. So it'll be interesting to see how that makes its way into customer experience.
I mean, a lot of this is playing to their customer base too, right? These are capabilities that customers expect. And so in some ways it's catching up a bit to some of the other players, and maybe it's a way to ensure retention or at least try to ensure retention there as they add in these other capabilities. And then frankly, it just makes the agent's experience better. And hopefully that makes the customer's experience better.
Yeah. So, sorry, go ahead, Ken.
I was going to say, Michael, from my perspective, I think that the connection between the agent's experience and then the customer experience, like if I improve one, I'm going to improve the other. I see that a lot in the companies that I work with, and I've often found that that's not the case. And I'd like to think that it is the case, that happier employees produce happier customers. But I don't think that we're quite there yet in our understanding of how to take and map experiences so that we actually know where the points of friction are, where the improvement needs to occur. So to the extent that they're able to leverage all of the data that's in their existing applications and provide a more comprehensive view and some insight into what they might actually need to address in order to improve the customer experience, great. But I'm not a fan of seeing this overall as a mechanism for improving the customer experience. I think to the extent that they can go through and start to provide indicators that somebody could point to that would probably go unnoticed because they're using AI technologies, then great. I think that's helpful. But on the surface, just looking at it as an improvement mechanism for customer experience, I don't place a lot of stock in that.
Yeah, so this is very interesting, and I don't know, guys, what has been your experience in using different LLMs? And one thing I notice when I use them, and I don't know if this is going to be series of questions, as John, you pointed out, but in my experience, what LLMs want us to do, at least today, the way their state is that if you want anything, especially the image ones, I don't know about the text ones. Text ones, they seem to be better. But the image ones, they are slightly finicky, meaning if you want something from LLM, you have to make your mind in the first request. Okay, you are not allowed to change your mind. Okay, if you change your mind, then it can get really grumpy. Okay, I don't know whether you guys have seen that or not. You get a lot more typos, you get a lot more grammatical mistakes. You are going to get a lot of repetitions. Okay, it will try to penalize you if you do it again. Okay, so that's very consistent for whatever reason. I don't know if you guys have seen that, and I don't know if you have any sort of explanation why that happens. But I like to compare this with my, what is that, Fiverr, marketplace. So when you are dealing with somebody whom you are paying $5 an hour, if you treat them nice, if you don't have any sort of unreasonable request, they will work nicely. And the moment they realize that, these requests are coming and you are still paying $5 fixed cost, then they can get real grumpy. So that's how I like to compare. I don't know if you have seen that similar behavior with LLMs. If you guys don't have any other comments on that, we can move to the next one. No?
No, I think you're right. I think that there's always the possibility of degrading effectiveness as well, because a lot of the data that's being fed into these LLMs right now is synthetic data that is being created by LLMs, and so you unfortunately you end up dumbing down the actual LLM instead of improving it. Yeah. So, and there's a problem, right? Because one LLM is consuming stuff from another LLM or from another 3. And I think it's up to the enterprise, each enterprise and each software vendor to demonstrate to their clients that they are maintaining their version of the LLM and they're training their own models in a way that continues to improve engagement.
Yeah, and I think that is called what is that, blender effect or something like that. I think people were saying that AI has a lot of that, but now it's becoming very prominent.
Yep.
All right, so let's go to the next one if you guys don't have anything else on that. So here we are talking about Upstream, and I don't know if you are familiar with them. And they are omni-channel contact center solution. And I think, Michael, you are going to have a lot more insights in this space. This falls into CX, and Thomas is not here. Otherwise, he will probably have a lot more insights here as well. So again, what I'm really noticing here is a lot of AI powered, and they are doing sentiment analysis, etc. But I don't know how effective that is. I don't know if you guys have seen any sort of use cases here in this particular space where AI has been really effective or agents have been really effective. So maybe share your experiences.
I mean, it is from the obviously the implementation of this, the way they've done this is purely assistance to the agent, but that's not a bad thing. I mean, I think that was, if you look at Salesforce, Oracle, all the players that have done something similar in their support apps, it was, how do I make the agent more effective? Well, I could do that by giving them the capability to find answers faster, find better answers, understand the customer, understand sentiment, which is extremely important in an interaction with a customer, and sometimes something that the agent themselves wouldn't pick up, but the AI will. I mean, I think there's good, it's a good implementation of and a good use case for this kind of technology. How do I make my support agents more effective? I do that by giving them, real-time feedback, and I give them the ability to find the answers faster, better, to resolve the customer's issues. So I don't see any real negative here. I mean, it doesn't go further. It doesn't talk about, using agents and, in the flow itself. So having AI as a part of that. But again, this seems like a reasonable way to think about it from an agent perspective. How do I make them more effective? I give them better tools that work in real time as they're interacting with the customer.
Yeah, does seem like a reasonable way, and thank you so much for that. And I think we have a parallel show happening here, so we'll bring these comments, on the screen. So G2 is saying, when I actually use Olama, and I don't know what that is, maybe you guys can tell me. I found it is combination among best prompts I gave previously. And sometimes I don't want it to remember the context, to be completely honest, because I may have searched for something, maybe something funny, and then I'm doing something serious, and it tries to remember that. I hate it. I don't know if there is a way to reset the history or context. There should be a way, but I don't have that option for whatever reason, because if I go to the next browser window, it still wants to remember the context because it's trying to save everything inside login, which is what I mean. I don't have something called incognito mode, which I would appreciate. So I don't know if you guys have any comments on this one.
Well, certainly, I think from a mechanical perspective, the model that you choose and the way that you interact with it, you might get a pretty significantly different result, especially as you start adding to the context window and then looking to see how the model itself actually responds. Because, there is summarization that occurs as you start using up your context window, and how they actually behave is going to depend on the implementation. So I think anybody that's actually using these technologies needs to keep that as part of their awareness and do quite a bit of testing to make sure they're actually using the right model for the right application. And even variations within the models that a specific provider has can provide radically different results.
Definitely.
It's interesting, Sam, that the I can see where the memory might be a problem if you're looking for it to forget, because I'm not sure how you do that either. But I that's obviously a big thing. And frankly, when I talked about, some of the coming innovation around agentic for next year, it's this idea of carrying context across everything, because that's actually really useful in a business environment, that it remembers. And I love the fact that, I can go in and continue a conversation or ask questions about a previous conversation, or even say, hey, do the graphic the same way we did that one 2 weeks ago or whatever. And it knows. So to me, it's been a huge advantage. But I guess if you want it to forget, I'm not sure how you do that.
Yeah, and John, I don't know if you are going to have any more context here, and I think Michael had a same question, that how do you turn on this memory? Is that an option or something?
You turn
what
it
is that?
on. Yeah, you
Yeah.
definitely turn it on in settings. That's a choice, right?
Where inside ChatGPT?
Yeah, in all Claude,
I think
ChatGPT, there's in settings you can turn it on or off.
Copilot, Grok, Anthropic, you name it. You just have
Yep.
I think you have to have a paid version to be able to use.
Well,
memory
that may
growth,
be
right?
the difference, because I haven't
Yeah.
paid for all of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have paid version, but I mean, I want it to remember when I want it to remember. I don't want to turn it off, I guess. So
You can also start new chat.
Chat.
We'll have to have a coaching session when we're done.
yeah, let's do
Yeah.
one-on-one one of these days.
I
guess.
suspect-
we are at
Sam,
39 right now, maybe.
I
40.
suspect, Sam, if you tell it to approach this as a new problem, it will not use the memory. I suspect you can prompt it to get what you want.
Yeah.
Okay, so are you saying that I should start that? Okay, this is a new problem. Forget everything.
This is a
that I
new
said.
problem, and I don't want to
Okay,
apply
I'm your
any.
new client. I'm paying new money. Okay, forget everything that I did
however
to
you want to
before.
prompt it, but yeah.
Okay,
That should.
interesting. Okay, all right. So we have one follow up here. Are we in a stage of developing AGI?
Oh my goodness! Now
only John knows about it.
G2 is going to change the whole trajectory of Analysts Gone Wild today. It's up to you whether you want to open that can of worms.
I'm not sure I want to go that way.
Yeah, I mean, if we get there, then I would like to change the name of the show to AGI, because right now we are AGW, and AGW does not have the same ring as AGI. So I would love to change that when we get there.
Maybe it's AI gone wild. Maybe that's how you have to do it.
AI gone interesting if I want to stick with AGI.
I'll give you my 2-minute point of view, right? Because I had been reading all of the vendor perspectives on AGI, even, for example, OpenAI and Sam Altman saying it was a couple years away. And now he's really pushed it out there and said it was, maybe 5 years away. And now he's that, I just read a book by John Thompson, and I wish I could remember the name of it, but I went to AI school reading John's book. John's been doing this for 40 years, and he teaches at the University of Michigan. He's deployed hundreds of AI implementations, and he initially believed it was about 120 years out. And recently, in the last month, he's brought that back down to about 70 years. So artificial general intelligence is AI that is human, basically without real without full sentience, right? Because AI can never be fully human. It's not going to become human. It doesn't have a soul. It can only replicate. But AGI is when it basically does everything that a human can do with the human mind, and that is, there's a number of things that have to happen before that happens. We're only at the beginning of causal AI. Causal AI has to happen, and then all of the pieces of AI have to come together. And I'm going with John Thompson and saying it's 50 to 70 years out there. It's not happening soon.
Yeah, and John,
the other thing that I always thought about this too, when you think about AGI and saying, oh, that's, it thinks like a human or whatever. AI thinks like AI. It doesn't think like a human, and it's not going to think like a human. It's going to think like AI. So maybe we should try to understand both and understand where it complements and where it comes together and where it conflicts. I don't, 70 years, maybe. I mean, I don't know. And I'm not even sure I care. I just want it to continue to evolve in capability as we move forward.
Yeah.
Back in the 90s, we talked about the whole emergence of the paperless office. And my statement on it back then was the paperless office will be successful when we have paperless bathrooms.
You could have paperless bathrooms where you don't have papers, I guess. I don't think you have seen those, right, Ken?
Yeah.
Not on purpose.
They exist.
Yeah, really. Not
By the way,
for sure.
By the way, John Thompson's book, I'm going to give a shameless plug on his behalf, and the title, The Path to AGI. So G2, if you're still listening, check that out. It's called The Path to AGI. It's like you just took a college course on artificial intelligence.
Yeah, and John, I'm going to caution a little bit, I guess. You don't want to read too much into vendors, what they are saying. Otherwise, you are going to sound like LLM and you are going to think like AI.
Yeah.
Okay, unless you guys have any other comments there on that story. So let's move to the next one.
I had one quick, if you can
please.
if you can jump back, because it was interesting to me to have this announcement right next to Sprinklr. And it made Upstream Works look like they're playing a little bit of catch up, because there's nothing truly agentic there. There's very little AI. It's like they finally have done something with their interface to include probably even just a co-pilot or something. Yeah. It seemed a little bit like they're behind the times and trying to sound like they're coming into the future, but that was just, I don't know the vendor well, so I don't want to say any more beyond that. But to compare the two, Sprinklr was definitely further down the road than Upstream Works.
Yeah, and I would not read too much into press releases either, because you never know what's happening in the background, because they might not have anything. They might have simply released a release, and they might not have anything at all. So I don't know if you could trust that.
Well, and when you look at some of the other technology firms that we end up dealing with that have already been down this path, I mean, this is starting to look like table stakes as opposed to something that is really innovative. And I think that where the rubber meets the road is actually getting in and having to exercise it. And this is, I think, one of the key challenges for customers today, is with everybody adding their own kind of proprietary view on how these things work. It just makes it tougher to maintain a long-term roadmap in terms of what technology you're going to be using, making sure that anybody that's going to be consuming it is actually using it properly or getting the right level of value from it, and then being able to evaluate your spend to make sure that what you're actually putting money out on, you're getting an appropriate return for.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit like my statement earlier about Sprinklr, that this is kind of catch up. And if you're a customer, is it good? Yeah, I mean, it is useful. So I think it's probably beneficial from a customer perspective. Does it mean that they're differentiated in the market? No, it doesn't. It means they're behind still, but they're less behind. So.
All right, guys, so let's move to the next one, unless you guys have anything else on that. So here we have Cleo. And Cleo, I really wanted to move to this story because this is slightly closer to ERP, and you know how passionate I am to the ERP, right? That's why, what the hell were we talking about on Upstream and Sprinklr? Okay, let's bring Cleo here. All right, Cleo. So they are doing a lot of different things from the payment perspective, which is also a very interesting trend. And I don't know whether you guys have followed, but obviously everybody's talking about instant payment. Obviously, they are going to charge maybe 3%, maybe 5%. So vendors have all the motivation for instant payment. But I mean, this has some value from the finance perspective. And these guys are doing very similar things. This is very consistent with all the other vendors that we have in the market that are able to do this. In fact, a lot of banks are providing similar treasury solutions to provide this. So I don't know if you have any comments on this story.
It took me a little while when I saw this to figure out what they were actually saying was this is a quick way to get financing on each invoice by invoice. I don't know how much it costs, probably not cheap, but I guess if you need that could be really useful. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I mean, first of all, for listeners to understand that Cleo positions themselves and historically has been an enterprise integration platform.
You are right. Yeah.
And they started years ago doing EDI. Yep. And they've stayed in business. They have a good customer base, but they've continued to expand. But most of their work has really at this cloud enterprise integration platform that they operate. And what this signals to me is that they continue to build out solutions with partners, which I think is really valuable because they claim, and I think there's a lot of what the platform lacks overall is real deep data integration kinds of capabilities, but it demonstrates that they are continuing to build out solutions on their enterprise integration platform, and I think that's good for their customers.
Yeah, so it's very interesting, John, the way you position that, because when you look at any of the technical platforms, whether you talk about EDI, integration, or low code, no code, in my personal experience, they have always struggled with their identity. Okay, and that's why they do this, to be completely honest, because all of these business guys, I mean, they sound cool. Everybody's talking about this business, that business, and they don't have anything cooler to talk about. So that could be a reason why all of these guys tend to move towards a lot more business use cases. And this could be that possibility. But you are right. I mean, they were traditionally the integration EDI centric platform. And I don't know, I think that's going to be their primary market share even today.
Yeah, I think you got it.
Anybody else has any other comments on the story? If not. Okay, and Ken is like, move on, go to the next one. I mean, why are we talking about finance and payments here?
No, but in all fairness, in today's economy, cash is king, and the more options that companies have available to go from what's booked to money in hand, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Whether it actually is cost effective for them, that remains to be seen.
Well, that's their own math problem, right? They have to figure that out for themselves.
I mean, it's also at the core of what EDI began as, right? I mean, that's so if you can begin now automating that for people, it's a natural thing to do as somebody whose origins are EDI.
Yeah, and I think one problem that I've seen in the market, I don't know, John, if you have seen that or not, even EDI vendors don't like to talk about EDI because they feel that that's slightly legacy and dated, which is slightly problematic in my opinion, because EDI was the business language. Even today, a lot of commercial networks are running because of EDI, but they don't want to own it for whatever reason.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And it's still got to be done. But the other challenge is that EDI, a lot of the API management companies, the API integration companies are figuring out how to do EDI, or it's good enough for EDI. So it's transferring into a more of a unified data movement, data engineering, data integration platform, everything in one.
Yeah, I think there is a difference between standard. So I see EDI as more of the standard as opposed to just the integration platform. So API is slightly more technical integration platform. It doesn't, I mean, you could have adopted standard, but that is not going to be adopted industry wide, which is where EDI is different. And I'm sometimes shocked that companies don't own it because the intent is very different. Okay, so we have one more comment here. How Cleo is faster? I don't know if it is faster. I don't know. I mean, obviously they would like to hear that it's faster.
I mean, if you mean, do they pay faster? I guess they pay faster than not using a service that pays faster.
I don't know the answer to that question.
Me either.
Yeah. Did I jump the slide here? Maybe I moved a little faster here. Okay, maybe I did. Okay.
Yeah.
So I need to slow down. Okay. So next one, unless you guys have anything else on Cleo. No?
Nope. Nope.
Okay. So Kantata. Okay, this is very interesting as well. They are in the professional services space. And Ken, going back to your comment related to project management, I don't know how these guys are going to feel about it, because that is their bread and butter. This is in the professional services space. Project management is their bread and butter. And right now, I guess, they are talking about continuous learning flywheel, which is a possibility based on AI augmentation capabilities. I believe there is another platform in the Salesforce ecosystem, and Michael, you might know them better. What was the rebranding name that they have done? And I'm not keeping up with names anymore. Financial Force was the old name. What was the new name?
Yeah, they have a new name now. I don't know.
That starts with C, I guess.
Yeah, I forget now too.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is interesting because I mean, when I saw this, I go like, oh yeah, this is a problem. My background before I became an analyst was all in professional services, right? And I can tell you, in the late '90s, I was at PeopleSoft running global ops for the professional services team. One of my biggest issues was, how do I capture knowledge from the heads of the consultants so that other consultants can use it in the next engagement. And we tried all sorts of things, and we had all these Lotus Notes databases, but there was always one failure in this. The fact that the consultants have to put the knowledge in for you to be able to get that knowledge back out, right? That's a huge problem. And if you could automate that in some way, that's a real advantage. And so that could be, to me, I think this is exciting. I want to take a look at it a little deeper, but I think the idea makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, Michael, if that's a problem, that's not allowed, because that's how I make money. And I am I'm sorry.
I don't know what to tell you. Pivot time.
Well, I share Michael's background in that I've been consulting for quite a long time, doing professional services at software companies. And I recognize the challenge that he faces. And I think that this is an interesting play. And the interesting thing to me about this, and I think really is the core to the challenge, is that when we talk about professional services, we're not talking about just one monolithic thing. Professional services are stratified. There are different levels of both capability as well as the types of services that you might want to deliver. And being able to address all of that, so I could easily see, okay, so if we're talking about delivery, implementation, standing products up, okay, I think you actually have a pretty good shot at being able to identify what the core behaviors are, the typical things that people would do in order to do that work. But as you get closer to the advisory realm, then not so much. I don't think that now, to the extent that you might be able to leverage AI platforms to be able to help with that, great. I think that is a potential direction worth exploring. But I wouldn't want something which is dumbed down, because now we're using the average of all of the types of advisory services, which is why I think that folks like us that are doing, analyst work are going to be needed for the foreseeable futures, because we're providing context that you can't just get from the raw data.
Yeah. Now I think that's fair. And if you think about it, the bigger problems were, how do I get reusable pieces of code, things like that, right? Or how do I track the successful implementation of this thing, or the best way to approach this problem? So it depends on what you're talking about, right? But I agree, and well, I have to agree because I'm also an analyst, and I sure would like for it to not go away in the next few years anyway.
Yeah,
you might need to use this, Michael. You might need to check them out.
I might have to check them out.
Yeah, I have to say that I agree, especially with what you said, Michael, that this is a very interesting area, partially because all of the big consulting companies are doing this. They have the software engineering force to be able to do it. So they're building their own. So this opens up for the mid-market of professional services companies to be able to do something. And the way to do it is a small language model like they're doing here. The large language models aren't going to do this. So they know professional services. They've built the small language model. The key will be, can they extend this to allow customers to have a private instance of this where they can put their own knowledge base? If they can do that, and it sounds like they're doing that, that is where the real advantage come in. And the second thing I like about this is they're targeting it not just for internal use of the knowledge from project to project, but also for sales. Because think about how powerful it is to be able to consolidate all of your professional consulting experiences with customer and find the best of the best in terms of results and quotes and what exactly was accomplished, and using that for sales. I think that's as powerful as using it in consulting.
That's huge for consulting and professional services. Yeah. Great point.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, from a consulting perspective, the more reusable pieces of whatever it is, knowledge, code, any of those things, that just helps you, make more money because you can accomplish things faster, or maybe more effectively, or at least you reuse component parts so you don't have to develop things over and over and over again. So it seemed to me like a positive from that perspective.
Yeah, and everything needs to be fast today. We are on the theme of faster.
Yes, we are.
Okay, so if you guys don't have anything else on that, let's move to next. which is what I was really excited about. Let's talk ERP here. Okay, so
what is it with the next term? All of a sudden, that's the popular name, right? Tableau
everybody
next, now
has to have
NetSuite
some sort of
next.
Sprinklr, Stream, Next in their name. Why would you not have that? AI is all next. That's why you need to have that. Okay, it cannot be yesterday, Michael.
Well, it could be previous, right?
Previous,
NetSuite previous. NetSuite now. How about that? That works.
Yeah, let's do with. Let's go with, I guess, pre-next. How's that? I don't know.
Pre-next. That's good.
Okay, so NetSuite next. This is very interesting because they are doing complete rebranding, and in my experience, I guess they have a real threat right now, because the AI native ERP systems have much cooler pitch, much more aggressive pitch. To be completely honest, okay, and the aggressive is 24-hour implementation for an ERP. Can you believe that?
No,
that's
no,
wild.
I can't.
That's wild by any standards, I guess.
It's a press of a button, Sam. I think, isn't that the?
That should be the expectation. I think they are slower, for whatever reason, right? Okay, so NetSuite needs to do next for their branding, because NetSuite is previous now, I believe, as far as their positioning goes. So they have to do something next, Michael. That's why they are doing next.
Okay, I get it. Why not? Everybody else is. Jump on.
Right. So they have agentic workflows, and I think the whole interaction with ERP is going to change. Again, I was at QA, and they are doing some amazing things from the agent perspective. And I know, John, you don't believe in agents, but there are some powerful things that you can do with agents. Okay, and they are doing, I think these guys are talking about just the search capabilities, complex tasks, but there they were talking about real inventory update, making decisions for MRP. Obviously, agents are not necessarily making decisions, and you like to hear this, John. It's called human in the loop. I didn't even know what that means, but now there is a real use case for that you are going to have some sort of approval flows for these inventory recommendation. The system is not going to update automatically, because you might have some financial implications, which I absolutely hate. So that's where I guess they are going. And these guys may be doing similar things, but press release, I don't think it is saying that. But there is a real value with these agentic workflows as far as ERP interaction goes.
Guys, Sam, I think the thing that jumped out here is it looks to me like they're reusing some of the developments that Oracle had already done in the Fusion side of the business, like Ask Oracle and some other agent capabilities. So it just seems like a logical next step. Okay, we developed these things here. Now, can we reuse them? Which, they've been doing for a while anyway. So I don't see it as a negative. I think it's but I do think they need some help naming, but that's just me.
So, Michael, I forget. I mean, I don't know if they are using their own LLM. My understanding is that they have relationship with OpenAI.
It's open, right? So you can bring your own, or you can use theirs connection. So you can do any of the publicly available. So you can do any of the open source, just connect it in the back end, bring your own, or use their relationships.
Okay, so sounds like open has a lot more meanings than just OpenAI and open source. So thank you so much for clarifying that. Sorry, John, you have a comment?
Oh, yeah, I just got to say, this is the most underwhelming release that I've seen maybe in a decade. It's partially because, if you read in between the lines, here it is: availability. NetSuite Next will be available initially for customers in North America within the next 12 months. So, if this is the vision that they released, and this is as far as they're going to get in the next 12 months while the rest of the world has passed them by, it's like, this is, if this were available today, I would say, yeah, this is good news. But if this is what you're going to do in the next 12 months, and this is your vision, go back to the drawing board. I'm sorry. I'm not a believer on this one.
Yeah, and I think they need to go back to the drawing board for their name as well. I think they should have renamed it as net next, I guess. How's that?
Net
Net next, right?
Net next.
Then John is going to
squared.
feel a little easier, I guess. Then he would not feel that there is a 12-month lag here.
Maybe that's why they named it next, because it is coming next.
Yeah, but sweet is very dated, man. Sweet, I don't know.
Next Christmas, next New
Next
Year.
Exactly.
Christmas, yeah.
Exactly.
I think this plays well to an installed base that is reticent to moving. But long term, when you look at the types of capabilities that they're talking about adding, this is, again, going back to my table stakes comment earlier. These are things that when you start looking at the different workflow engines and the types of capabilities that different vendors are making available, I would not anticipate that 12 months from now, we're going to see that, oh, yeah, I want to get those capabilities from you. Rather, I want to try my own way of being able to stitch these tools together, because I have a lot of tools in the enterprise, not just you.
Yeah, so I'll give some credit to NetSuite here, John. And I don't know if anybody has really spoken about this kind of timeline. But these agents, if you look at the real workflow, if you're going to get tangible business value from these agents, they are going to take some time. They have to be contextual. In this case, they are talking about rolling out only in North America, because if you are going to use North American agent for the Philippines, I guess, it's probably going to be a very strange experience, to be completely honest. So I think this is how every vendor should be approaching it, the way these guys are approaching, because there is a real training, calibration, development involved with these capabilities, and they have to be extremely contextual based on the industry, based on geography, and a lot of other factors. Yeah. So
I don't have any argument with that, Sam, but I mean, when you get right down to it, I'll go back to one of the comments I was making here, is that, is the capability something that you expect from that particular product? And I think that, again, they are playing to their install base, as opposed to trying to address how they're taking and extending their product.
Yeah, and I don't know, Ken, how you feel about it, but externally, I don't know if you can develop the same capabilities. So when I look at the kind of agents that Salesforce is developing right now, or QAD is developing, the reason why they are going to be so powerful is because, number one, they are using the data from their own install base. They have far more intel, and then customers' data is also included in that. Externally, if you are going to use that tool, I don't know how ever powerful that is, but you are not going to have the same outcome from those agents. So what these guys are developing matters in my mind. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's why it takes time, I guess. Okay. More comments on the story? Do you want to do one more, or?
I think we got to look at the next one just to do justice.
Yeah,
to
they
this.
kind of go together.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, you guys were waiting for that. Okay, why are we spending so much time on the ERP story? Can we go to the next one? Okay. So we have the next one. Okay, so Oracle AI agents, and obviously we are talking about marketing, sales, service leaders here. And I think this is the one that you were talking about, Michael, if I remember correctly. So this is Oracle Fusion Cloud. And obviously they are talking about revenue opportunities, because that is the only thing that matters. Okay. So here, again, here we have some of the cross-sell, upsell opportunities. But this is going to be a very enterprise context compared to the mid-market context. And even though Oracle might be developing similar capabilities for their Fusion portfolio, my take on this would be NetSuite has to develop their own capabilities as well, even if they are borrowing some of the technical capabilities from their parent product portfolio.
I mean, this ties directly to the AI World announcements, right? I mean, that was what they talked about the whole time, the 600 or so agents and the new marketplace, so that partners can produce agents. And this is all kind of typical enterprise at this point. I think, that's what you'd expect from Oracle, from Salesforce, from Microsoft, all these guys. So it plays right into that. Role-based agents, yes, that's the next thing. You want specialty agents, so you can divide your workflow up among those agents and have, much more effective multi-agent deployments. It's definitely, all they talked about it at AI World 3 weeks ago, whenever that was.
Yeah, thanks for that validation.
Yeah,
John?
I think it's a good thing too that they have to continue to do what they said they're going to do, and they're doing it. And this does justice to the fact that they have the complete platform. And what I'm seeing is a surge for what we used to consider the monolithic vendors, because they do have that full coverage of the enterprise, and they have all the metadata, and they have the data capabilities and the analytical capabilities. When you start putting these agents to work, they actually have what it takes, and they can embed them right in the applications and feed them all of the intelligence that agents actually need to do a good job. I'm I was really looking elsewhere to see these kinds of capabilities emerge, but I'm sort of turning back now to look at some of the big ERP vendors as the ones that are going to be able to deliver on the agentic promise.
Yeah, I mean, they have the data, right? So that's a huge leg up, and in fact, these guys have done that. Plus the other thing with Oracle, they're one of the few enterprise vendors that aren't charging extra for those agents or any of the AI capabilities. Now, that doesn't extend to the marketplace. Obviously, if you're a partner and you're trying to sell an agent, that's a different thing. But as far as the core, none of that stuff adds any additional cost, so it's much easier from that perspective to justify the addition in your deployment.
So they might not be charging today, Michael, but
No,
that doesn't mean that they are not going to charge 400x tomorrow as soon as the market goes down, which is already going down for
it doesn't.
AI
I
stock.
mean, that's a fair statement, Tammy. I don't know what they're going to do in the future, but they have touted that as one of their major advantages for the whole time they've been involved in AI. So they could change it, but they're going to make a lot of people angry. Now, maybe they don't care, but there are only two vendors right now that I know of that have done this approach, Oracle and Zoho. And the reason they can do it is they own all their own infrastructure. So it's a different cost model than it is for a company that's renting, infrastructure from one of the hyperscalers.
Yeah, I'm personally extremely worried about my AI addiction because right now I have already seen surge in my bills. You talk about Opus Clip, you talk about StreamYard. They are definitely doing 400x, in terms of their pricing. More comments, guys? Anybody? No comments? Okay, I'll continue with my jokes then.
You got 2 minutes.
2 minutes, 400 jokes for 400x price.
There you go.
I'm not even getting paid here, guys. Okay. See, John is getting all the traffic. We are not getting as much traffic. Maybe we need to talk about AI a little bit more. I don't think we talk about AI enough on this show.
I've said that before. I think that's...
We need to talk about more AI. All right. So I think, close time because we need to close as well and we need to wrap. So any sort of closing thoughts? How does Robert do? He does clockwise, anti-clockwise, right? Okay, Ken, you want to go first?
Sure. So the thing I take away, especially from the recent episodes, is that we're continuing to see a very, very rapid pace of innovation. So I think that looking at vendor press releases and what they're doing with their technology is important to keep abreast of, but we got to stop chasing it. We have to let things, there's a certain level of awareness and then kind of let it play out. And going back to my recommendations for customers is really you need to be experimenting, not necessarily going all in on any one thing, because until you actually start framing the value proposition appropriately, you may be going down a path that you don't want to go down, or find that you start and all of a sudden it's like, oops. So avoid big mistakes, experiment.
Experiment, especially in the age of AI. Thank you so much, Ken. John.
Shameless plug here. I recommend that you contact me and get some more information about my AI literacy course, the Leaders AI Playbook. And I do think that actually literacy in 2026 is one of the most important things that organizations can do. That's not just because I have a course. That is because it is absolutely necessary to let strategy drive what you do with AI, and to understand more of what can be done with it, not just what vendors are telling you.
So, John, are you going to have some sort of link here? What kind of plug is that when you don't have a link for people to go to, I guess?
The digitalanalyst.ai.
All right. Thank you so much, John. Michael.
So I'd say the same thing about the fact that I published that Building a Digital Workforce book. That was actually my point too, was to try to build frameworks and logical ways to think about the strategy and approach this in a structured way, particularly because we tend to focus on the tech and not on the people, and the people are actually the problem. So, really orienting how you build that strategy, I think, is important. But I guess the other thing I would say that I heard today is, we've talked about the data for every episode I've been on here because it's key, right, from an AI perspective. But the second piece is context. And that's a really, really important part of this. And that's why AI inside of these applications that you're already, using is extremely important and useful to you because it has the context that you'd want for it to do the things that you want it to do.
Yeah, perfect, guys. And my personal takeaway here from you all, and this is the best part of the week for me because I learn a lot from you all. So it's going to be experiment, leadership, literacy, I guess. Literacy is what you said. And Michael, you had consistency. So thank you so much once again for dialing in. We meet every Thursday at 11 a.m. I'll see you all next week.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the WBS Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. For more information on growth strategies for SMBs using ERP and digital transformation, check out our community at WBS.rocks. We'll see you next time.